Hi, my name is David Boostrom, and I am one of the lead designers of Heroes of Metro City. I'm doing this video today so that I can show you a little bit about how to play the game. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and grab all of the copies of your Origin Story cards. And then you're also going to want to grab your Spark of Energy cards. Put both stacks out onto the table. Now we're going to get out the randomizer cards. They're the ones with the nighttime scene on the back. There are 20 powers in Heroes of Metro City, and there are 7 energy cards. From the randomizer stacks, we're going to take 8 power cards randomly, and then 2 energy cards randomly from the randomizer stack. When we flip them over, we're going to find out which cards are going to be included in our game. Now it's time to grab all of our enemy cards. There are 30 minions, 20 villains, and 10 archenemies. We're going to shuffle up each of those stacks, turn them face down, and flip one face up on the top. The goal of the archenemy and their minions is to destroy the important landmarks and skyscrapers in Metro City. Those buildings are represented by all of the power, storyline, and energy source card stacks that you just put onto the table. As the game progresses, they will deal damage to the city, removing cards from the game. It's your job to stop them by defeating the archenemy with your carefully chosen deck of cards called the Hero Deck. So now I'm going to grab a hero placard and start making my hero deck right now. Each player takes 5 Sparks of Energy and 5 Origin Story cards from the city supply. Then, after you determine which player is going first, you can add 1 or more cards to your hero deck. These bonus cards are your starting powers. As the first player, I get 5 plot points to spend on my bonus cards. Adding a card to my deck is called Developing, and I could develop a storyline card that gives me even more plot points used to acquire more cards. Or, I could develop an energy source card which fuels my superpowers. Or, I could choose a power card that draws more cards from my deck, deals damage to my enemies, or produces other strange and fantastic abilities. This time around, I'm going to choose this card called Elemental Blast. I want some of that raw elemental damage to take out my foes. Now, because Elemental Blast costs 5 plot points, and that's all the bonus points I had to start, I'm only going to be adding just that one card to my 5 Sparks of Energy and my 5 Origin Story cards. But other players are going to be able to maybe add more if they choose to add cheaper cards to their decks. Now, while the other players are choosing their bonus cards, I have something else I have to do. I have to come up with a truly heroic name. Now, I'm not sure what to come up with, but since I just took the Elemental Blast card, and there's apparently an energy card available this game that gives me a small bonus when I have an animal word in my name, I think I'll go with Electric Emu. That sounds pretty good. So, beware, evildoers, because the Electric Emu is on the case now. So I'm all shuffled up now, and just like I'll do at the end of every turn, I'm going to deal myself a hand of 5 cards. Now we're ready to kick some evil butt. This is my first turn, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look down at my hero placard and see that the first phase is called Reinforce Enemies. That basically means that if anybody on the turn before me had beat one of the enemies and taken one of the cards off the stack, I would now flip over a new one. But since no one's gone before me, this is the very first turn, I can skip that phase and go right on to phase 2. During this phase, I get to play all of my energy cards and my power cards, well, if I can. Now, the first thing is, if I have empty slots available on my hero placard, I can actually place some of those cards onto an energy slot. You can put any energy source card onto an energy slot, so I'm going to put my Spark of Energies there. Now I have a problem because I really want to play this Elemental Blast card and I want to be able to activate it and get all its cool abilities. But it requires an energy level of 2, and my Spark of Energy cards only have an energy level of 1. But they have this other cool ability called Versatile. And Versatile lets me stack my Spark of Energy cards to create a larger source of energy. And that's exactly what I'm going to need if I'm going to get up to 2 energy and play the Elemental Blast card. So I'll do that. I'm going to take one of them off of there, I'm going to stack the 2 of them up, and I'm going to play Elemental Blast. So those were my only orange energy source cards and my only power cards. So I'm pretty much done with this phase. I'm going to move on to the next one. We're on to phase 3, battle enemies. And I'm going to check out the life totals of each of the enemies that are face up right now. If my hero can deal more damage than the enemy has life, I can take that card and add it to my hero deck. Now in the last phase, I was able to activate Elemental Blast, and here on the card it shows that in phase 3, Elemental Blast deals 2 elemental damage. Now it's only 2 damage, but that's enough to take out the enemy minions. I'm going to remove this card from the top of the stack showing that I defeated them, and I'm going to take it over to my play area where I rotate it and turn it into a storyline card. In phase 4, I reveal all of the storyline cards in my hand. In this case, I have 2 origin story cards that give me 2 plot points, and a recently defeated enemy which gives me another 2, for a total of 4. I can develop 1 card from the city supply that costs 4 or less. So I'm going to choose Deadly Blades. It costs 3, and I kind of like the idea of having Deadly Talons on my Electric Emu. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to put it in the discard pile next to my hero deck. During phase 5, the city destruction phase, the enemies attack Metro City, destroying cards and removing them from the game. But Metro City isn't helpless. They have a police and military force that are fighting against the enemies as well. They're represented by the dice that you roll during the city defense phase. Roll the dice, and if you hit the target numbers or higher, you can prevent the enemy from using their destruction power. Now if I don't roll high enough, the enemy gets to use its destruction power, and that's the red phase 5 icon on each of their cards. Now if I hadn't defeated the trained agents in the previous phase, they would get to destroy one of the same cards that I developed, which would be the Deadly Blades card. If the villain Lotus Blade had also not been stopped by the city defense, its destruction power would remove 1 energy card from the game, and I would get to choose which one, so I'm going to pick Spark of Energy. And if the arch enemy also hadn't been stopped by the city defense, he would destroy 2 power cards from any of the remaining stacks in the city supply, and then he would get moved over to a second stack that would block it, preventing anyone from developing that card. Now the last phase of my turn is called the cleanup phase, and what I do is remove all of the cards that I played, and all the cards that I didn't play, and put them into the discard pile. The only cards that I don't have to remove are the cards that I slotted, the energy sources. But I can remove them if I would like. After I put all of those cards in the discard pile, I draw a new hand of 5 cards. If there's not enough cards for me to draw, I draw as many as I can, then shuffle the discard pile and draw the remaining, all the way up to 5. And that's it. Let's fast forward to one of the turns in the later game. I'm looking at my 5 cards here, and I really like the Armed Super Vehicle because it lets me draw cards. The Armed Super Vehicle card is a perfect match for Affinity with Nature because it requires 2 energy. And once I've played it there, it's activated. You know, my Armored Super Vehicle should probably be called the Emu-Beal. Anyway, once it's activated, I draw 2 cards. And I'm noticing also that when I played it on Feral Hero, the ability from Affinity with Nature, it lets me draw 1 more card. That means I got a pile of them. In addition to letting me draw 2 more cards, Armed Super Vehicle also becomes an energy source for ranged and travel powers, and I happen to have one in my hand. I guess it makes sense that a flightless hero would have a flying super vehicle. Now that my Emu-Beal is flying, I can draw 2 cards with supersonic flight, and one of them is another Armed Super Vehicle, which I definitely want to play. So I grab my Spark of Energy from my hand, place it on the Spark of Energy that's already slotted on the table, and play my Armed Super Vehicle. That lets me draw 2 more cards, and boy am I lucky, all damage, and I can't wait to play it. But first I have to figure out a way to do that. One of the cards I drew earlier is the energy source Affinity with Nature, and its energy of 2 is perfect for my Elemental Blast. So I'm going to place Affinity with Nature in my 4th energy slot, and that gives me 2 energy levels to play Elemental Blast. So once it's activated, the Feral Hero ability of Affinity with Nature lets me draw 1 more card. The extra card I drew is an origin story, which isn't much help right now, but that's okay. In my hand, I have a Mind Spike, which deals a whole bunch of damage, but requires an energy level of 4. On the board, I have an energy level of 3 with my Uncanny Mutation, but that's not going to be enough. I'm going to build my way up to level 4 by using a Spark of Energy. Its versatile power will increase the level of energy from 3 to 4, allowing me to activate my Mind Spike, and that uses up the last slot in my turn. There's nothing left in my hand that I can play, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next phase. During this battle enemies phase, I have a lot of damage to add up. I've got the 3 mental damage that I was able to deal with Mind Spike, but I also have the 2 damage I was able to deal with Elemental Blast, and I get an extra point for having an aerial advantage for my supersonic flight. Now my total of 6 damage is a lot, but it's not enough to take out the archenemy. His life is 8. But it is enough to take out the villain, Lotus Blade, who has life of 5. And as I take her out, her Dying Strike special ability destroys one of my cards and throws it in the rubble pile. I'm realizing that I'm not too far off from being able to take out Carrion, maybe 1 or 2 turns with a lucky draw. Whoever is able to take out the archenemy first wins the game, and I'm just hoping it's the Electric Emu. Well, that's a look at Heroes of Metro City. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, go ahead and just send them to us here on Kickstarter or to our homepage at heroesofmetrocity.com. Thanks.